Good morning, everybody. It's your favorite aspiring classicist, someone who studies the classics, a wandering author here, to remind you that we are all the authors of our own lives. As always, my message remains the same: spend less, live more, earn more freedom with frugality. And we're going to finally pick back up with our study of Aristotle. Now, 3 months ago, we spoke about justice as a proportion. Now, remember, for Aristotle, justice is not contaminated by like the wokeism that we see the word kind of with today. It was more of what was truly morally right and wrong, which I guess maybe kind of that may be what the woke crowd is going at, but they don't always get their message across. Anyways, we're going to move on to distributive justice, which reminds me of a day in math class, because it is very mathematical. So this then is one kind of justice, only one kind. Now, since an unjust man is one who is unfair, it is clear that corresponding to the unequal, there is a mean. So again, what Aristotle's doing at the start of this chapter, chapter 3 of book 5, he's building up his argument. Why does justice work in this way? And he goes, if the unjust is the unequal, the just is the equal. Now, he doesn't mean like absolute equality. He is a big believer, Aristotle is, in hierarchy or proportional things. And this right here was too long of a passage for me to draw out on the whiteboard here, but he says that what is equality? So he says that if the unjust is the unequal and then the just is the equal, what then is equality? So what does Aristotle have to say about that? Equality involves two terms at least. It involves accordingly not only A, that the just is a mean and equal, but also B, that as a mean it implies certain extremes between which it lies, namely the more and the less. C, that as equal, it implies two shares that are equal, and D, that as just, it implies certain persons for whom it is just. So, it follows, therefore, that justice involves at least four terms, because justice involves equality, but justice is not equality. It involves equality. We bring up justice, and it makes it where there are four things we need to keep in mind. Two persons for whom it is just. Justice, remember, from previous videos, in like the first chapter of book 5, it involves interactions between people. You can't be just to yourself. It's only in relation to other people. So that's two of the factors of the four that he talks about. Equality involves two terms at least. It follows that justice involves at least four terms. And then two are the shares which are just. So let's say we're splitting a literal pie, like a key lime pie. That's my favorite type. There's the two people that are involved, if we're splitting it between two people, and then there are the two shares of the pie that are involved. And here is my favorite quote from this chapter. It is when equals possess or are allotted unequal shares, or persons not equal shares, that quarrels and complaints arise. So we have an issue when two people who are equal don't get the same treatment. And I think pretty much everybody agrees with that, even today. But then he also throws in, or persons that are unequal, if they get equal stuff. So I personally can't think of an example on that one. If you can, whenever two unequal people get equal shares of things, I guess maybe like a parent and a child or something like that. If they both get the same thing, there might be an issue. And then Aristotle goes further and says, this is also clear from the principle of assignment by desert. All are agreed. So like the principle of assignment by desert, basically you get what you earn. All are agreed that justice in distributions must be based on desert, like what you deserve but have earned, of some sort. So, but they do not all mean the same sort of desert, the way you earn these things. So, and then Aristotle goes on to say, Democrats make the criterion free birth. Those of oligarchical sympathies, wealth. Upholders of aristocracy make it virtue. So we can complain about justice or injustice whenever two unequal or two equal people receive unequal or equal shares. But the way that we determine those things changes. Like Aristotle says, if you're a Democrat, then you're going to say that anybody who was born freely is equal. But if you're in favor of oligarchy, then you might say that we need to judge people's worth according to how much money they have. And then if you believe in aristocracy, Aristotle believes that you should judge people and whether things are just based off of how virtuous they are. But he goes on to say, regardless of how, justice is therefore a sort of proportion. Aristotle, Book 5, Chapter 3, Section 8. And he comes up with this right here. If A and B are in proportion to each other with C and D, then A plus C and B plus D should equal A and B put together, or be in the same proportion with them. Which again, that's what he calls distributive justice. Just like what you might hear in math class. This kind of proportion is termed by mathematicians a geometric proportion. The just in this sense is therefore the proportionate, and the just is that which violates proportion. The unjust may therefore be either too much or too little. When an injustice is done, the doer has too much and the sufferer too little of the good in question. And then he closes with a great, something that we hear in politics today. A lesser evil in comparison with a greater counts as a good. The principle of the lesser evils. And then since the lesser of two evils is more desirable than the greater, but what is desirable is good, and the more desirable it is, the greater good it is. So, yeah, that's one more type of justice. I think tomorrow I may do pick up with my Greek history. And then that's pretty much what I've got for you guys today. What are you doing to inspire, uplift, and empower your local community? Because this world isn't changing unless we all do our part, and you can count on me to do mine daily. Until next time, I love y'all.